final session of the day. Really excited to introduce these guys to you all. When they came in a few weeks ago, I was just completely blown at just the organic idea that they had. And to me, it's just a new perspective when it comes to just collaborative work from different perspectives. And it's really based around what Kevin and I are our philosophy, which is the Medici effect. And it by happenstance, they never heard of it, but once I told them about it, and did you read the book? Okay, once he read the book, it all made sense. So I'm gonna get out the way, let these guys talk to you all for a little bit, and then we'll probably come do some Q&A that I'll lead. Without further ado, this is the WAYWO Project.
I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for having us. We're the WAYWO Project.
Yes.
My name's Jonathan.
I'm Raven Josiah. Again, thank you for having us. I guess we'll just get started.
Yeah.
We're the WAYWO Project. We're going to be sitting here to talk to you guys a little bit about what we got going on, what we were able to get done in the last year per se. But this is where we are. It's great to be here finally. There's a lot of diverse talent in this room right here. And for us, that means incredibly a lot. So just imagine this. Imagine everybody in this room right here sat around the table and we all dedicated our time, our perspective, and all of our experiences on dealing with one of our problems that we're all going through. How beneficial would that be for all of us?
And that's exactly what the WAYWO Project is. WAYWO stands for What Are You Working On? We are a peer advisor group, and we have a very simple mission. Our goal is to develop communities of diverse business owners, creators, and project pursuers to give them access to other skill sets and perspectives while leveraging their own. And so doing so, everything we do is based on a simple mission. It's to add results to networking. Not everybody thrives in a networking setting, but we want to get past the handshake and get into settings to where people can work alongside each other. In doing so, it creates healthier relationships and a better chance for referrals moving down the road in your network. Right here behind us is, it's a good representation of kind of what we bring to an event, right? For a second, just check it out and see where maybe you could benefit from here. But more so, we want you to think about what could you contribute? What of your skill set could you contribute to a community that wants to pour all this back into you? From focus groups, VTO, our whole Instagram is about VTO, check it out. And from CRM to copywriting, which is such different than grant writing. But for me, what's helped me the most on this board is probably the mental health evaluations. Being in a startup, being a new, fresh company, who's asking the leader if they're okay? And so at all of our events, we like to end it with a mental health evaluation in doing so, because burnout, once you're burnt out, you're burnt out. So identifying it is a major key in the sustainability of a business. And what we realize is that successful businesses and companies have all these components and many more. But these things are mostly important for a company that's stagnant and or just starting.
Exactly. And so that brings us to the startup boom. I mean, multiple times tonight, earlier in the earlier speeches that we heard about the effects of the pandemic. And so what we find is just very interesting to me. Like, this is like the perfect time to be part of the WAYWO Project. And for us, the reason is as simple as that. The pandemic has been a very pivotal moment in history for all of us. And so with that being said, something that results from that is record high business formations, but with that likely follows the idea of record high business failures. And so with that being said, for example, what we find is, and so, we always hear that idea of 90% of businesses fail. We're all thinking about doing startups at some point in our life in the last 5 years. And so you probably heard, oh, this is going to fail. And so my mind is, I'm a numbers person. I went to school for it. And I always was like, I want to really dive deep into these numbers and see what these numbers are really about. And so I just decided to look into the last 5 years specifically. And so what I found was in 2018, 3.5 million businesses was registered. And so what I also found was, based on years of operation, only 49.70% of businesses, if they started in 2018, are actually going to make it to today, and 5 years later. And so what the grand total tells us is in 2023, out of all those businesses that were formed in 2018, 1.7 million of those businesses are going to fail in 2023. And so I did the same statistics for 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. And we found that just from the 5 years alone, if your business has started in the last 5 years, then almost 7.3 million businesses are gonna fail in 2023. And that's a lowball number. That is, I mean, we didn't do the numbers into 2017 and before that. And so that's kind of where we're at right there with that in that terms. And I mean, even for us, I mean, we're a startup. And so if you think about the statistics wise, you know, we always thought about that for ourselves, but it's just a very interesting aspect as well. And so we have the number. We have the number as to how many businesses are going to fail in 2023, but what's the reasoning? And that's something we wanted to dive deep into it as well. And so a report found that mainly 38% of those is because they ran out of money or is because they didn't get proper funding. 35% is lack of market need, 20% from beat out by competition, wrong business model at 19%, or legal hurdles as well at 18%. And so one thing that we always want to make completely clear is that we do not promise that we can save a business that comes to us from falling under. But we can put you around the people in the room that can help you with at least one aspect of your business for you to move forward. And then that brings us into our proven process.
That's exactly it. And our proven process is where we're comfortable putting a promise, because we've seen this time and time again. And it's very simple. All around pain points. We identify a pain point. We then plan on addressing it. A lot of times people are focused on the wrong pain point. But once we identify, we plan around that pain point to implement a strategy that's focused on eliminating or avoiding that pain point, followed by the resolution of and then repeating it by addressing on what could be potential pain points on the new position you are in your business. And in doing so, this gives us a promise that we are here for the next step of your business, regardless of the position you are in, the stature you are in, anything from a focus group to outside perspective and a proven process will get you to where you need to get for the next step. And so we based everything. We started reverse engineers. We're very much so reverse engineers. And so we started everything from that point. What is the most effective thing we do? And so as you can see, we're doing this right now. We have business owners, creatives, project pursuers, everybody listening right now. Everybody here is at least a project pursuer, looking to get something better. We interact with them, with the member of the WAYWO crew, which is awesome to see some WAYWO faces around here. Thank you guys for coming out. We interact with the WAYWO crew, and ultimately, we would like that to get to a WAYWO Wednesday. So the WAYWO Wednesday will lead into a multitude of different events and collaborations, but a few examples of this is a business owner. Johnny from High Tides down the street right here, we talked, and he wanted to be a part of First Fridays, but he wanted to give back to the community and not sell anything. So together, we, in our fourth quarter collaboration last year, we partnered, and next thing you know, we have a open mic session in the parking lot right over here, 18th and Cherry, and where people are having a chance to present original music live for the first time. And so together we did that. A creator like Jan Jansen, artist, or even Chloe Benton in the audience today, through our WAYWO crew, they understood the importance, as we stressed LinkedIn, Facebook 2012. We stressed LinkedIn. And so through the WAYWO crew, we had a 1v1 consultation. And right now, Chloe has two freelance clients since that last LinkedIn optimization. And fortunately, she credits a lot of that to that LinkedIn optimization that we had. And a project pursuer, a local now, but not for long, a professional musician from the area named Lee Sampson. When he met the WAYWO crew, he came to a WAYWO Wednesday, and he saw the way that we implement our structure, and he said, I'm ready to have my first live concert. And so we said, okay, it's not your first live concert, it's either a good or a bad concert. And so we collaborated with him, and we had his first live concert, which was 35% over expected attendance. And so in doing so, those are some examples of what we do. The next one for me. Yep. And so, as you can see, everything is focused around WAYWO Wednesday because we are able to control that with the size of our company right now.
Of course. And so, before I get into exactly what WAYWO Wednesday is, thank you, Craig, for getting into this slide a little bit. But the Medici effect. My first time coming from thinking about the Medici effect was actually with a conversation I had with Craig here at Keystone. And what came down to it was this idea of something that I always intentionally do whenever I'm explaining WAYWO or anything actually really to somebody else to actually know that it was understood is I kind of hear back as how they explain it back to me. And so the way he actually explained it back to us was he was talking to Kevin and he said they're basically comparable to the Medici methods. And so, I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what that was whatsoever. I actually remember I actually reached out to a friend and I was like, what was it that he compared us to? And since then, I watched the entire show, I read the book, and this was not too long ago. And but basically what it was he compared us to Medici's sense in terms of his understanding and the value in intersectionality between arts that were different. And so that's what we bring that's our mindset when we're talking about WAYWO Wednesday. This idea of just connecting the people from different diverse fields, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the expertise level, doesn't matter your background. If we bring them all together and you bring all that perspective in the room, innovations can really collage. And that's actually what they're trying to do here in Keystone, and that's why it was able to work so well for us. And so for us, that's exactly what we intentionally do. We invite business owners, creators, and project pursuers intentionally to assist each other on each other's respective projects.
And so WAYWO Wednesday, before we get to this point, we like to point out the fact that, we love the process of mentoring, but we more so work with people who are capable individuals. And all you need is a spark sometimes, that next step getting forward. So by adding, creativity without structure is chaos. So by adding our structure, even to a free event that's weekly, we get tangible results. And so this is like a quick session of what a WAYWO Wednesday would look like. You come on in, and our onboarding process is something that we take near and dear to us because recently, I've been on a little bit of a tour going on events and researching the first 30 minutes of every event. Understanding, why do people get punished for showing up on time? Why do people get punished for registering? Why is this the way it is? And so our onboarding session is not just for you to meet someone, but community is so much more than just working. And so having somebody to show you what a WAYWO Wednesday looks like is like that. Followed by our fire starter. A fire starter is exactly what it sounds like. It's a dynamic guest speaker who ignites your flame as a creative, as an entrepreneur, and gives you insight about what their day actually looks like. Followed by an ITM table, which is probably one of my favorites, stands for in the moment. So in this room right now, we're all gonna hear amazing advice, but this ITM table is focused on, thank you for that advice, let's go work on it in the moment. So at our events, we optimize LinkedIn pages, we together made your website, we do packages and such, and we focus on in the moment because so many times it is the time stagnancy thing. The market, we made that name not too long ago and we're really feeling it, but the market is very simple. We just pair you with somebody who's killing it in social media or a marketing expert to identify evergreen content, which means whenever you see it, it's beneficial. And in doing so, you can create sustainable content. Sustainable content takes so much less time in creating content and getting more into what you do. Sustainability is key. And the creation queue is super simple. It's just a quiet corner to where once you know what you have to get done, it takes time to get it done. But all of this comes around the war room. And the war room is home base for us. And we hold it so near and dear because you have to come with this intention of a warrior type mentality, but we're actually trying to find the path of least resistance in your business and in your pain points. And by doing so, it's very Medici family-like in sitting around the circle and handling that. So the war room is a major thing that we implement in every one of our events.
And so getting away from WAYWO Wednesday, we talk about WAYWO Work Party. And so what the Work Party is, that's our bread and butter. That's kind of like the premise of what WAYWO started. I have my notebook from like 3 years ago, and the Work Party was kind of the first thing we ever defined on there. But basically what it was this idea of just being able to, specifically what it is, it's an exclusive series of workshops and activities. We invite professionals, we invite people that actually want to get ahead together, and we tailor their needs based on meetings that we have coming up towards it. Jonathan's about to explain a little bit more specifically about 3 individuals' schedules they had at our last work party, but that's exactly what it is. Being able to tailor the need, we tailor these events and these workshops and these activities based on the needs from the meetings that we've had. And then we call it party mainly because it's all about community for us. And so we'll have this full day event of workshops, of activities. And then afterwards we will be doing things like, we all go out for a cocktail happy hour. And then what we find is the most, I guess, the most glue that is made in terms of relationships and the strengthening is happening afterwards, right? It's no longer just the business mentality that I was just working the entire time. Really, the relationships are built afterwards. And so we always try to provide a community and an environment for that to happen.
Exactly. I think most of us are creatives here, so we're very visual. Really quick, here's the 3 exact schedules from one of our events. So to give you some backstory, Los is a public speaker, motivational speaker. He didn't need just content, he needed influential content. He said, I need content to where I'm imposing my insights and my knowledge so that my followers understand that I have something to say and they want me to speak at their event as well. So his event, we gave him the keynote session, which he absolutely did amazing. And then through his events, if you read them, you'll find over 3 hours of influential content that he was able to break up and still post sometimes to this day. In the middle is Jessica, who is a local entrepreneur who's thriving in the skincare business. When we met her, she didn't need sales. We can tell you what we think you need, but we can ask you what you need as well. And she needed more genuine reviews on her website to add credibility, and she needed some focus groups on different demographics than her usual 30 to 50 mothers who buy her product. What really happened with Jessica, though, is when she had her public speaking engagement, which everybody has at our event, it's a piece of content, it awoke what she actually wanted to do. And Jessica now is in the process of finishing her first book called Beneath the Skin. And she has a book signing down the street because we're just networking in this community. And now she's focusing more on life development coaching. And so now she's going beneath the skin and she's really into where she is. And she talked more about that on our Flashcast with Kelsey, who was very much so in the startup phase, who only had, I think, 5 or 6 episodes, but they weren't consistent. And so through our event, we had a Flashcast. And everybody who came to our event went through this Flashcast, 20 minutes, and she was able to finish season 1 extremely strong and begin season 2. And the craziest part, the WAYWO way, is that Jessica is now Kelsey's #1 sponsor for her podcast, for each event. And that's the WAYWO way right there.
Yep. And so for us, we obviously like to talk about what is a successful work party. And for us, we identified it as 3 different components. Perspective is what we've been talking about this entire time, the idea of diversity, intentional about the diversity. Again, age, expertise, your background, bringing all these different types of people in one room and being able to have that perspective is strong. Intentionality for us is truly important. We want you to be intentional about wanting better for yourself, but also wanting better for your peers, because ultimately, if the people around you are doing better, you will be doing better as well. And so that's the intentionality. And then it goes into our WAYWO workflow, our proven process. We talked to that a little bit before, identifying, planning, implementing, resolving these pain points. And so when we find that we bring all these 3 components together, it makes for an amazing work party. And from that comes tangible results. From that comes resolved pain points, intersectoral collaboration, exposure across all the different platforms. Essentially a network of reliable professionals that you can always count on for all your needs that you might have.
Very well said. And if you get anything from this, we really want to understand that there's such power in collaboration. There's probably 2 things that our community, if you've been to any of our events, you've heard it every single time. First is that together we can do more, because we simply can. Your perspective, your skill set, I will never, ever have those in my repertoire. Neither will you have what I. And so understanding that, but you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah.
Your competition is confirmation. We live by this. Your competition is now your confirmation. So by accepting that and creating teams with your competition, it develops confirmation. Just like Ashley Little says, when we try and stay in control of an idea, we are thinking small. When we let go of control and invite others in, we are embracing the power of collaboration. And like Jessica says, myself and Raven, we are intentional and we are focused on creating intentional spaces for entrepreneurs and creatives to connect and feel supported, but we don't know every VTO, SEO, CRM, ABC method. That's where we need you to collaborate with our community so we can strengthen us and be have our weakest link just be a circle and just be a continuous cycle of support and a system, because at the end of the day, WAYWO is us, and we just want to say to don't just join our community, be our community. That's what we're asking for.
Yep. And then that will be it.
Yeah. And that's our presentation. Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I could think of is WAYWO Wednesday comes in seasons. We have we're both athletes in our past kneecap lives, and we have seasons. So by meeting new people, we can't just say let's have an event every day. By having seasons, we get the opportunity to meet new people. And then our last event ended the last week of November, and we're picking up in February. And since then, we've literally just been connecting with the people from our own event. No marketing, no outsourcing, just literally still in those meetings from that event. So that's why we have that. And the work party comes every once about every 3 months, depending on the demand.
Little do they know, the WAYWO Project gonna come to Keystone in January.
In January.
Are we in shot? Is everything good? Okay, cool. So again, thanks a lot for you all joining this session. Like I said before, when you all were explaining the concept to me a few weeks ago, there were so many just reminders on how Kevin and I have come together to really bring Keystone, or to bring sessions into fruition. And so super excited just to know you all, and then also just kind of collaborate, because when it comes to Keystone, especially these sessions, the reason why we have 3 sessions, the reason why we make the sessions so different from each other is because we are intentional about creating these intersections, right? Having these diverse perspectives, having these diverse mediums come together to solve real problems. And I think that's what you all have really been able to do. I think Kevin and I, we've been, banging our head against the wall on how do we, take what we're doing with these talks, but make them in a more workable way, a more conceptual way. And even in our last meeting, I think we probably broke it down even more. So I want to dig into a little bit more, especially into the WAYWO Wednesdays, right?
Yeah.
And just the concept of me coming in through the door. It's my first time. I just heard about you guys. What is my experience, or what is it for me? What is it that I expect? You guys mentioned a little bit, but I want to go into detail about that.
I got you with that one for sure, because it excites me. Like I'm thinking about like it coming back, and I'm like, I could run every single session play by play. But so like Jonathan said earlier, he's done some really good research in terms of like the first 30 minutes of an event, and so that's something that he always stressed dearly. He always harped that on the most. If someone's walking through the door, our main goal is, and funny enough, it kind of worked backwards because we started getting so many people, me and him just gonna be at the door. But our main goal was for someone always to be there to greet. So like if there is any newcomers, like it's set up there in terms of the WAYWO onboarding, we would always, if there's anyone ever new there, we made it a point to walk them through the stations and show them exactly where everything's gonna be. This is the war room, this is the ITM table, this is where the fire starter is gonna be, this is where the second fire starter is gonna be. So that's kind of how it does when you first go there. So you're first walking in, one of us are there to walk you through everything, tell you about WAYWO. And then honestly, essentially something that we didn't, because we wanted to keep it short of time, something that we always do, and this is the magic that happens before WAYWO Wednesday, whenever we meet somebody before we tell them to come, is one question that really holds dear to us is what is, in an ideal world, what's your ideal connection, right? So if you had never been to a WAYWO Wednesday before and I'm the one that's talking to you, I would ask you, what is your ideal connection right now? Like, what is it that you need? And so my answer would probably be a videographer, right? I need a videographer to be there all the time. And so if that's the answer that I got.
Got 1, 2.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so, but if that's the answer that I got, then you best believe that the next WAYWO Wednesday, there's gonna be a videographer there, right? And so when and that's intentional, like we have lists. And so when they come to the next WAYWO Wednesday, we already have a videographer there and they already know that they're gonna be talking to them. So usually you would come in, we'd walk you through, and then videographer's there, and I would sit you there with them, and then boom. And so, we always like to start a lot of our events, any of them that we do, whether it is a WAYWO Wednesday, whether it's a work party with a high dopamine session. And so for us, we like to put people on the spot. So we call it WAYWO rotating chair. And so for us, some of you guys may have been in that for sure. So WAYWO rotating chair. And so what that is, and the reason why the market is so important in terms of one of our sessions is because marketing today in this day and age in the 21st century is one of the most, I mean, content. We all know that. And so we always like to make content, right? And so one thing that someone can always do is that, you know, be the face of their company, especially in today's world. Like, you have to speak to it. And so what WAYWO rotating chair would be, literally, we would just sit somebody down on a rotating chair, on a chair, and everybody in the audience would just, they would just give a quick, no one, at that point, maybe no one really knows you. And so let's just say you said that you are with Black Excellence. So you would say, I'm with Black Excellence, I do this. And then now you have like 10 people like just coming in, asking you questions about what it is, what you do, asking you like all these different types of questions, creating content. But now it's almost like a type of an, we didn't really wanted to call it an icebreaker, but like now everybody knows who you are, you know what I mean?
And you mentioned creating content. So that means that as these things are happening, I'm being video.
Oh yeah, you're being recorded the entire time.
And I'm being recorded the entire time, so
yeah.
then I can be able to post on social media.
Exactly, yes,
so
yes,
forth
yes.
and so on. Okay, so then what's day 2 like for me? So I get there, my second day, and I meet my videographer. Am I able to then come forth with my idea, or well, you know, what's that give and take look like for you to kind of have that skin in the game?
Yeah, so usually it will lead to one of the three, either a one-on-one conversation, because a lot of times, so one person has what you need. And so at the war room, we're collectively handling one problem. So if it's my problem, we're handling my problem over and over again. And if you're done helping it, you can leave the table. And so say my problem is this and you can help me, we're leaving now to our one-on-one session. Say that this problem is not a it is time sensitive, then we'll go to the ITM table. But if not, then that will be a focal point of our war room on in the next Wednesday. And so, for example, when we had something similar to that, we knew that somebody needed a photo shoot to be done. And so we made sure to have a few stylists, a few different body types in the room, and a few videographers with different rates and styles to see who they could pair with. And they actually missed our event next Wednesday to go shoot their photo shoot because they were free at that time.
Gotcha. Love it. So when you're creating this space, right, you have your ITM table, you have your war room, you're doing your one-on-ones, you're having your quiet area. There's a lot of things happening at once, right? And I think oftentimes what I feel like what stops people from doing that is, you know, I might lose my intellectual property when I come to a space like this, or somebody might have the same idea. How do you guys mitigate those problems from happening when you have so much going on at one time?
Exactly, yeah.
Remind them, you know, competition is simply your confirmation. There's more money printed today than all of us probably made today. With that understanding, it's truly amazing that, you know, I can be a 10 times better carpenter for you, but if my business model has religion in it, I win because of the client. So understanding that what your competition is like is the best way to be unique, right? And so by saying that that person over there is making 10 times more income and this person wants to be like you, what can you learn from teaching, or what can you teach from learning in that exact aspect? And we had somebody come in who was in real estate, and it was really funny because they were like, they were very transparent, and believe me, him and I, very thick-skinned, we ask all the time, like, hey, Eli, what was bad about that? That was bad, right? And so we said, you know, what was wrong with this for you? And he said, well, I don't know why I'm here. We're like, fair enough. Why do you feel like that? He's like, well, nobody here does what I do. And we said, okay, would you rather be in a real estate room, or would you rather be in the room with a bunch of entrepreneurs who run their own businesses, who live in apartments and rent out of their houses? And so just showing people the unseen value when you strip your pride and say, what I have, like Dr. Ashley said, by stripping your pride, you're no longer thinking small.
Love it. And I think you guys did it in your equation, right? It's that perspective, right? So tell me, what is the main perspective that a lot of people have as they're leaving the WAYWO Project, and what do you think is what keeps them coming back each Wednesday? That's probably a question for one of y'all out
I
there,
started
but-
looking away. I'm like, someone else probably has a better answer for me. I think, I mean, yeah, so I generally do think it's that sense of comfortability, the community aspect. Like, you don't feel, when you're at a WAYWO Wednesday, you don't feel like you're at work, but you're probably, like, we always like to say, it's one thing to work in your business, but it's another thing to work on your business. And we give a space for people to be able to work on their business, right? To actually identifying those pain points as leaders of their business, mainly because but besides that being one thing for them to come back and do, because again, like we worked with people that do embroidery. We worked with someone that was in Google. We worked there's all these different people that come in, but when they're not, from what I find is we give them a set space and time of the week to work on their business versus just working in it. Actually just reflect on the things that are going on and how can I be better at working in my business.
Amongst our community is that what you say you are is what you are today. And so we have, people who are cutting $1 million checks in this room, along with people who are cutting sandwiches in their kitchen, not sure what to do, doing both of the sort. And so by having them in the same room, it really does open up. Yeah, it really opens up the floor to the thirst for knowledge. I think that some of the best information I've gotten was from asking a question to someone who I knew the answer and just waiting, because they knew that I'm listening. So by just creating that environment, it really does. And also by adding tiers. We have a thing developing called a home team. And the home team is where people who are very active in our WAYWO Wednesdays, or people who are always coming back and contributing, we create a home style event to where we can come, all pitch our ideas and be genuine and have an opportunity to be amongst creatives who literally want the best for you. So those are much smaller tiers. And so in doing so, naturally, people want to get more and more into the more exclusive groups that are more tailored towards, hey, today we're doing LinkedIn and we're going to the lake. Today we're doing drone shots with Raven, and then we're going out to eat together. And so really just developing community, I think it brings people back and makes you feel more comfortable.
Love it. Honestly, this is like are you guys, well, first of all, the question, I got so many questions in my head. The first question I want to ask is do you feel like this concept only applies to businesses, or is this a concept that can be brought into a business to solve projects or anything like that?
I mean, verbiage has always been something that's been very important to us. And we never want to exclude anyone. And so for us, what that means is our process itself isn't only for business, we find. I mean, and neither is business in a sense. Like the thing about being in business is that I could be working on my business, but I could be having problems at home. And so, someone wouldn't say that's business, but at the same time, it definitely correlates with my business and affects my business. And so at WAYWO Wednesdays, we had times where a war room was actually talking about someone's problem at home, and that's okay because that's what's going to elevate them in their business. And so the process that we found is whatever the pain point is, whether it is tailored to your business or tailored to your personal life, we did find that we can still create steps and a strategy to move you forward. And again, and that's why we try to, in terms of verbiage, that's why we always try to say business and personal, because those things are very much correlated, no matter how much people want to draw that line.
Researched and looked into that corporate realm to where we can bring our structure to one specific company and help them all the way from marketing, and just develop their whole teams, LinkedIn, or whatever it may be, right? But it's just crazy. The more I really think about it, it is just truly the fact that when you see someone and you say, hey, I can do this, and then they say, okay, can you get this done for me? Knowing that you'll see them next week really just creates that cohesiveness. And so for everybody, I think that we have at least a rough number, probably 3 or 4 people that come just for the community aspect. Yeah. And in doing so, we always push them further. So it's like, hey, you came and you talked and everybody laughed. How do you feel about being a fire starter? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And a lot of times, some of our best success stories are meeting people who we've helped them realize they hate doing what they're doing. Like one person who helped us out, who was our videographer, he had to edit a whole work party, and he's like, I hate this. Like, okay, it's okay. And now he's 3D printing for a game, and he's killing it. We haven't seen him in 3-4 months. He's been gone 3 months, but that's the way
they need a videographer, y'all. If y'all just so I want to go away from the concept just a little bit and just talk about you all as founders, right? When I talked to you guys, I expressed to you all that this was such an organic way, of doing what you all are doing, right? I know you all are getting a little bit more structured, but in the beginning it was just about the community, Like it was in a sense, people were invested in the experience that they had. As you all are thinking about scaling, and as you all are thinking about like, how do you all see yourselves keeping the authenticity of the organic space that you created?
We're working right now with entrepreneurs and working with people in those 5 years that we just presented because we're extremely passionate about it. And so by staying where your heart is, I think that will completely align us. And also, one thing that we did really wrong the first few months was we said yes to everything. But by filtering everything through our vision has completely avoided busy work and has kept us on our path of helping the people that we want to.
So yeah, interesting enough, our very first work party, what WAYWO started being, honestly, if I really tell you the ins and outs of exactly how it started, it was really one of our very, very fundamental ideas like 3 years ago was this idea of keeping up with our friends from college. Like all of our friends from college are like, I mean, my best friend in college is in Alaska, California, and Florida. Like those are, and I'm from Jersey. And so it was this idea that like to keep in touch with them. So like WAYWO, that's how it came up, or what are you working on? And so, but from there on, the reason why I bring this up was because there are people just as passionate as us on and we brought them in. So for our very first work party, we actually made a point to actually fly people in from one of our respective homes and our friends from the coast. And so we had our friend come in from California. We had one guy come in from Maine. I had a guy came in from Jersey. A guy came in from Florida. And so like, there are people, and they're just as passionate about this as us. And so in terms of scaling and that authenticity, like there are people who see this just the way we do. Like I think I can get somebody to probably quit their job right now and work like Trenton. We're just on the phone with him. But I think finding those people that are just as passionate about it as we are, I mean, that's what would make it easier in terms of scale.
One thing that we talk about every morning is like, sometimes when we're busy, I say, yo, Raven, this is the rest of our life, right? He's like, yeah, the rest of our life. All right, we're good. We keep moving. Simply just understanding that this is not a fad. This is not to help our generation, that this is something that we are passionate about, and it's the fruition of what we've been doing, you know, in our backgrounds, in our prior jobs, in our prior choices to go to college. That everything has led to this. And one thing we always say to people is, you know, if you don't want to be in a box, you know, make your own box. And so that's something that we're trying to do. And even being from much bigger cities like we are, a lot of things we say we're transparent in saying that I had this growing up. I had X, Y, and Z resources. And so I'm just implementing these things along with other creatives. And, you know, like on the presentation, we're passionate about certain things, and we're not passionate about learning every single thing, right? And so that's why we're as strong as our network is.
What is it that makes Kansas City special for WAYWO?
I'll give it to Jonathan on that one, but I mean, there's just so much here. Being from the East Coast, like 10 minutes away from Manhattan, there's a lot here. There's just so much room for growth, and we can see the entrepreneurial community, the entrepreneur community in general, just building the way it is. And we have so many things going for us being here in Kansas City. And no, it's just extremely exciting, and it saves money. But it is an exciting.
We learned about
the
cost of living in the last session, so I totally understand.
Yeah. No, I was thinking. As we were going through that session, I was learning a lot. But I kept on wanting to be like, I feel you. I'm from New York. Yeah, I'm from Jersey myself. So
just an in the moment session right now.
Ooh,
we're gonna talk about Keystone and WAYWO.
Ooh.
And so what I would like to do is, or what Kevin and I don't know if you guys seen while y'all were talking, me and Kevin is over there colluding just a little bit.
I saw it. I didn't know if it was about that or like, yeah.
No. You know, what we would like to see is, you know, Keystone really wants to own Wednesdays, right? Mm-hmm. And that means during the day, leading up into sessions. And our biggest thing is during the day, because we're now in a hybrid space. So many people are working from home. We have civic issues that don't get worked out the right way just because of what we talked about, right? That collaboration is not really there. How do you all see there being a way to apply the WAYWO concept to possibly even solving issues like what is one of our biggest pain points in the city right now is homelessness.
Yeah.
Right. How can you all see
I have it.
the WAYWO Project? You
Yeah.
know, kind of we're in the moment, so let's talk about
No,
it.
this was good. So so we went to a holiday party in Spark KC. We actually won 3 months office space there, so that was pretty
Dope.
great. But we went there, and I was talking, and we were talking, and this conversation did come up. I was talking to someone who's been working there for about over 20 years as a volunteer for harvesters, and so. Yeah, so we talked about our strategy. We talked about what we were doing. He talked about how interested he was in, and so for him, and I honestly I almost created a proposal in the moment right then and there too, because for him he was saying that okay, harvesters handles food, right, and then like there was just such a disconnect between, and this comes back to competition and. This comes back to competition as confirmation, because so many groups or so many industries or so many like just government entities per se have the same mission, but they just aren't connected. And so sometimes, even though they have a good mission and a good story in their heart of what they want to get done, they can do so much more if they just work together. And so what I talked about with this gentleman basically was, if in a way we were able to get harvesters and all these other companies who works on the issue of homelessness, if they were able to work together, he saw the light, he saw the viability in it. If they were able to work together and actually sit down and talk, and in a war room setting is actually his words verbatim, then they would be able to do so much more for the city, because they would be able to talk strategy in terms of where to target, in terms of what's being provided to who, to what shelter. And so with that being said, I think just being able to sit people down with a structure and tackling any issue, you can get very beneficial results from it.